instant, like, interest in her beautiful face. Reasonably so.
She's very beautiful.
She's so beautiful.
They're both very beautiful.
Yeah, I'm just like... Hi, I'm Gabe.
And I'm Kat.
And we're
the Ghouls Next Door.
Synchronicity. Which we should watch. Sometime.
Yeah.
Was it Synchronic by our boys? What is their names?
You're saying
Endless.
Oh, those guys.
Yeah, they have a new film out.
Those boys.
This is a sidetrack for that. But queer. That's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
We are here. We are queer.
Get used to
Fear
it.
for queers. Yeah. Ooh, ooh.
I got my spooky ghost rainbows.
The Ghouls Next Door mask
Yes.
Kat is wearing, if you're watching.
It kind of looks, because I don't have my glasses on, so I'm blind, and it looks like teeth.
Oh, yeah.
Like a scary, like, rah.
It's good. It doubles as spooky.
Spooky time.
Yes, it is December, so we are talking about queer horror.
Yeah.
Or horror films in which there are queer characters, potential queer threads of plot.
We're still in the apocalypse time, so, gotta talk about what's under attack.
Yeah.
Currently. Just the queer community.
Always and forever.
Yep. Hopefully not forever, but yeah.
Is there, so until she dies.
It would be dope if she just resigned.
Yeah, okay.
I just think that would be nice.
But what about them makes you think they'll be nice?
That's fair.
Anyway,
I don't know.
Sadness. We are, like I said, talking about queer horror. Last week we talked about Spiral, the Shudder film. This week we are going to be talking about a film with a female protagonist who is coming to terms with potentially being a lesbian.
Yeah.
Although we don't really know that.
Yeah.
Because, that doesn't mean that.
Yeah.
Anyway, it is Norwegian, so it's subtitled, Don't Let the Tiny Words at the Bottom of the Screen Defer You from Watching Cool Movies. Like,
yeah, it was a fun movie. Like, I had a great time watching it.
Yeah.
It's not the kind of movie that you would want to multitask during.
Oh, yes. You can't. Yeah. It's like that TikTok of a girl, and she's, like, doing her makeup, and she's watching a subbed anime.
Yeah.
So she's, like, she keeps looking at the screen because you're, like, trying to read.
No, I feel that struggle. I feel that struggle so much because literally, like, there's so many animes I've gotten to the point where it's like, I need to watch it, but it's, like, one of those things I have to give it all of my attention, and I don't feel ready.
Yeah. The same thing with, like, the K-dramas that I watch. I'm always just, like, I have to watch, I have to read it. I don't know enough Korean.
Yeah.
I know, like, 2 words, okay?
Yeah.
And one is just no. The other, okay, I know 3 words. I know no. I know thank you, which is 2 words.
I know how to say hello on the phone and in person.
Hello. Yeah. And I say hello, no, and thank you.
That's good. Those are important words.
Those are important words, so I know what happens.
You just nod if yes. So you don't need to.
Yeah, I don't know what yes is. But yeah, it's definitely a film we got to pay attention to. Because it's subtitled, right? But also because it's like there's a lot of things being explored. It is a little more experimental.
There's a lot of subtle things going on too in the background.
Yeah. And it's like you definitely want to be aware of what's going on. I enjoyed it. I did enjoy it. It was like chill.
Yeah.
Like there was some stressful things happening, but even within the stress I was like,
it was definitely one of those horror movies that, like, didn't build up suspense so much. Like, suspense and release was not the theme of it. It was one of those, like, what's happening is horrific.
Yeah.
And we can all agree.
Yeah.
And, like, there's a scary part to it. But it's more so, like, the concept is scary. And, like, what's happening is scary, but not the play of it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's like when you're thinking about the ramifications of what this means, that's scary.
Yeah.
But, like, Yeah.
And I think it's real that they compare it to Raw, because Raw was very similar in its implementation.
Yes.
Too, because it was definitely like slow burn.
Yeah.
Like nothing too like music was not at play really in terms of building suspense. It was not a suspenseful film.
No.
The music isn't playing into the suspense. It's not overtly scary. It's just like what's happening is messed up. And you're like, oh wow, ooh.
Yeah.
We don't want that.
Yeah, it's definitely that like coming of age, women having been suppressed meets college life where you were infinitely free. And it's like it's overwhelming how much you're trying to figure out about yourself all at one time.
Yeah.
Because now you have the opportunity, so you want to do it all.
Yeah.
Matched with like supernatural or horrific things in it that are also in both of in Raw and Thelma is generational as well, and it's also tied to womanhood and because I'm pretty sure it was the matriarchal line in Raw that it was her mother, and it was always like the
in this
the
it was
women.
the patriarchal.
It was the dad,
it was the dad's
but
mom.
it skipped the dad, and it was the mom. So it's still the women.
Yeah,
still the women who are done, and still the women in that too. So it is interesting. It's the monstrous woman, like generational. So what we're talking about is a film called Thelma. Let me tell you what it's about.
Tell me.
Thelma is from 2017. A confused religious girl tries to deny her feelings for a female friend who's in love with her. This causes her suppressed, subconsciously controlled psychokinetic powers to reemerge with devastating results. Directed by Joachim Trier. I hope I said your name right.
I don't know if that's what happened.
I don't agree. IMDb, but I guess on the surface,
it's definitely like the I don't media analysis films.
Yeah,
right
this is what it is. Yeah, I think like when you're coming in on the surface, that's what it looks like. The trailer would tell you that.
Yeah.
But you know,
and that's what they want you to think too. That's what they want you to think going in. It's a good thing to think that going in. Then you decide for yourself. Yeah.
So we have this film that's very beautiful cinematically. It is, you know, this. We start with snowy woods.
Yeah.
A girl out there with her dad, and then they see a deer. And he tells her to like close her ear, like cover her ears. And she's looking at the deer, expecting him to shoot the deer, and he turns the gun on her, like he's gonna shoot her.
Yeah, and you're like, ooh, what's wrong with her? That he's trying
What's
to kill
wrong
his
with
kid.
him?
That
right?
too, but I'm just like,
why
would he want to kill his child daughter, who's clearly not?
Yeah, she's just a kid. Right?
She's a baby still. Like she's not gonna like pounce on him. Like you know what I mean? Like it's not like an overt threat to his existence.
Yeah, so real. And then it just cuts to like present day.
Yeah,
she's an adult, a young adult.
Yeah,
she's gonna go to college. She's in college.
Yeah,
she's living by herself for the first time, and her mom calls her every day.
Yeah,
to check on her and her well-being, which is just like, you know, helicopter parents.
Yeah. Nothing seems too like weird outside of the gun. At the
beginning.
Yeah.
And you're like, but she's very much like, you can tell, like, one, the fact that her mom calls her every day. She very clearly doesn't have any friends. She's not like going out and partying. Met anyone yet that's like she's just buddy. Study.
Yeah.
Which is similar to Julia Ducournau's Raw.
Her sister was like her only.
Yeah, the sister connection. Was a wild child, and she was like, I just do the books.
Yeah, smart.
And that was like her too. And then she sees this woman at the library.
Yeah.
Anya, and is like instant love.
Yeah.
Instant like interest in her beautiful face. Reasonably so.
She's very beautiful.
She's so beautiful.
They're both very beautiful.
Yeah, I'm just like, we need more.
And it was funny. It was like, I was like, she has to be a model. And you're like, she is.
She is, yeah. So the actor, OK is her name. OK Kaya is a model. Cool name. She is a model, and they were like, we don't know if she can act, but I want her in this film. The Thelma is played by Eiley Harbo. Again, I hope I'm saying your name right. Norwegian is a really difficult language.
Yeah.
Which is
when you grow up speaking English, it's hard sometimes to pronounce things correctly because our brains stop developing the ability to find sounds after puberty. Fun fact.
There's a lot of, again, me learning Korean, and I'll like click
it's not
the different
impossible,
letters,
but it is harder.
There's like many of them. I cannot tell that there's a difference. I'm like, these three are the same sounds. Why are they written different?
Because our brain didn't learn them when we were little people.
I'm like, yeah. So it's definitely not a film that I feel like I could, like with Spanish, because I know a little bit when I watch a Spanish film, there's still a piece of me that can kind of float away.
Yeah.
Because I can like grasp what is happening.
Some of it.
Not in this. But it's very like, I think there's, I enjoy the aesthetics of this film. It's very blue and gray. Very like mute.
Yeah.
In color, which is interesting because Spiral was very red.
Yeah. You kind of get this blue and gray are like both suppressing kind of colors. So you kind of get that throughout. It's like a play on the situation at hand. Yeah.
And so like, if you look into Thelma and you're interested, many people would compare it to Carrie, or even like a little bit of X-Men in there because it's, young girl who has psychokinetic powers. And is repressed by parents.
Yeah, because of religious reasons.
Because of religious reasons. Although I don't know if Jean Grey's parents were religious, but that whole idea, like, you're too much.
It's the whole, you have regular parents who had nothing special about them. They just went to school, got married in the suburbs, and lived their best life.
And now they got a weird kid.
And now they got a kid, and they don't know how to cope with that because they're like, everything in my life has made me think that this isn't regular, and I'm stressed.
Yes. Yeah. And I think like, so yeah, it's carrying that, like we have this suppressed girl who is religious. And there's even a conversation when she first starts hanging out with the kids because they're like, do you want to drink? And she's like, no. And he's like, why? Yeah. She's like, I'm Catholic or something. Christian. And they laugh at her because like, I mean, that's a silly reason in modern day. Yeah. To not.
And also lots of people are atheists, especially in college.
Yeah, especially in college. And I think, so there's like, which brings me to one of my favorite parts of this film. There's a conversation, so her parents come to visit. They bring some stuff for her in her new apartment, and they're out at dinner. And she's like going on, she's talking about school. She's criticizing or critiquing these ideologies of like family friends. Yeah. And the parents are uncomfortable and like, essentially like shut her down. Yeah. And it's very clear they like, and I resonated with this conversation because it's very much like conservative parents reluctant to let kid go to school because then they'll learn the truth about the world and then question their beliefs in the world around them, and they hate that. Yeah. Because they want you to stay in their little bubble that's contained and like obedient. Yeah. And suppressed. And she's definitely not doing that. Even in the minuscule way that she hadn't even gone out yet. Like she hadn't even done anything yet.
I mean, the act of educating people is to free them from these bubbles. Yes. So if you want to suppress anything, you suppress education, which is what the American system has done thus far, and also is very common in religious households where they do not allow women to receive education. Yeah. Because danger. That allows them to notice that, like, hey, freedom should be a thing. Yeah. I should be able to do. Why are you in charge of the money? What is that about? That's ridiculous. One, you're not good at math. You failed it in high school. So I'm good at it. Let me do it.
Yeah, what is this? Hold on. Yeah. The text here says.
Also, I'm an independent human being. And now I want to fight you.
Yeah, exactly. And so they don't want that. No one wants that. Yeah. If you have that control.
Weapon is that.
Yes. Which, like, so when we first see this, it definitely seems like a generic kind of idea of parents don't want their kid to get intelligent and then break away from the church and, like, be independent and possibly make bad decisions. Mm-hmm. Later, we find out that potentially they didn't want her to do this because it could unlock her psychokinetic abilities.
And religion was just a really convenient scapegoat.
Yeah. So it's like, at first you think it's like they're repressive. They don't want her to figure out who she is. She's also gay now. And so it's like, she's also kind of hiding that from them. And so you're thinking like, Carrie, right? Like you have a parent who's just not going to accept you for who you are, kind of thing. It's dangerous. And then it turns out like, no, they actually are just really honestly afraid of you and afraid of what you could do. And you just also happen to love a woman.
And I want to say, there were moments where I was mad at myself because I sympathized really hard with the parents. I'm like,
I get it.
Like, yeah, they're just regular people and they don't know. Like, they're just like trying to figure out how to cope with this. And they're not doing it the right way.
No.
But like, they also do still clearly like love her.
Yeah.
And like care about her and are like doing their best. Like, so for context, spoilers, they lost their second child because
of her.
Like, and that's something that's very real. Like, that is a thing that happens. I know people who've experienced that where one of the other, like the first child, inadvertently through accidents, because that's what kids do. They have accidents and things happen, where they lose one of their children and they have to like deal with that.
It's like, it's two things. Like, you're still their parent, but you're also that other kid's parent.
And you also have to like make sure you're not putting like blame on a child whose fault it is not because they were a child for that to happen.
Yeah.
And it's hard enough when they die from natural causes and you still have to like love your children when you're dealing with that like intense and horrible loss.
Yeah. And also like feeling like you can't give too much love because
that's
you could have given to them, right? And it's like you're not giving them justice by loving more. Kind of. It's complicated for sure.
It's a complicated situation.
Yeah.
So I definitely sympathize with the parents and like what they were going through, and as much as like I didn't agree with their methods, I was just like, this is at least like this is the nicest version of this scenario I've ever seen.
Yeah. I would argue this is very Frozen, where they're like, okay, kid has powers, instead of teach kid how to control powers and accept them, we suppress them and make them not real and make them feel like an outsider. And then they're gonna lose it.
They're gonna have a minute like when they're left to their own devices where they're the pressure, you can't put that much pressure on a child.
Yeah.
And also it's like they made them forget that she had them.
Yeah. Yes.
So she goes out not knowing that she has the ability to do this.
And they're just waiting. Like, they're as much at fault for not communicating what she had the capability to do.
Yeah.
And not acting faster when she started acting strange.
Yeah.
You know, like...
And I get they were trying to trust, you know.
But I mean, at some point you can't. Like, there's a part of that shouldn't have been trusted because she doesn't know. Like, you can't trust her with not knowing what she's doing. Yeah,
you have to give her the whole story of, like, what's capable
and then trust.
Of happening. Yeah. Because, like, if she knew and had the ability to, like, start to develop and control these things. And I think the biggest thing is they were scared of what happens at the end of the movie.
Yeah. And then she did.
That she would, through, like, resentment, kill them.
Yeah. And then, you know. Yeah. Kind of.
She did for Dad.
Yeah. It kind of reminds me, there's this documentary thing I watched, I think on ID or something. And it was a woman whose teen son was, like, troubled. And he ended up killing her daughter, the younger. And it's, like, this whole complicated relationship she had with him because, like, that's still her son. And, like, he was obviously troubled. But, like, she also lost her daughter. Like, and it was, like, there's so many. It was, like, it was such a deep, like, I wish I could remember the name of it. But it was, like, it rocked me as, like, a true crime person. I was, like, this is too much. And that's kind of, like, I agree that I think the parents really were trying their best. I mean, what are they going to do, right? Like, there's no Professor Xavier to show up and be like, I'll take your kid in, teach you how to use this to be good. Like, this doesn't exist anywhere. And as far as, like, the dad knows is that his father is missing because his mom zipped him out of space and then had a mental breakdown and has lived in this asylum for forever.
Yeah.
And so he's like, I don't want that to happen to my daughter. Also, I lost my child. So there's like, it is like that. But I think, you know, in us talking about queer horror, I mean, she is in love with this girl that she sees. And so, again, on the surface, it seems like she's from this religious family. They're not going to like that she likes a girl. It's dangerous. And then she also so happens to have epileptic seizures.
They're caused by emotional stress.
Yes. Or arousal. And then things happen because of it. There's, like, the first time the Anya shows up is very questionable. That she walked there.
Yeah.
And you're immediately suspicious.
Yeah, you're like, how?
Why did she come here? She didn't know. They don't really ask that many questions. They asked like 2 questions. They said, why are you here? And she said, you texted me. And I was like, no, I didn't. Do you know where I live? I guess I did.
Yeah.
That's it. That's the conversation. And then...
It was because she was thinking about her and summoned her.
Yeah, summoned her. So it's like right off the bat, it's sus. Yeah. It's like, okay, I don't know if Anya really did like you. I think Anya was quirky.
Yeah.
And I think Anya was interested, like, and intrigued by her.
Yeah.
But I don't know if she really liked her like that, to that degree. Or, like, she didn't really get a chance to. Yeah. Because she was immediately forced to. Yeah. In the relationship.
Yeah, and it was very interesting because there was this dynamic that, like, she didn't want it, but did. And it was like, she was the one who initially shut it down, despite being the one who was subconsciously, like, forcing it. Yeah. So that was a really interesting dynamic. I guess it's, like, kind of like self-hatred or something. Yeah. It was interesting.
It's a lot for her to deal with. Yeah. And I think that's the danger of having a character with this much power. That has no understanding of self. Yeah. Like, that she's still trying to figure herself out and has too much to fight with, and that's why it got bad. Yeah. You know, and she didn't have any support around her.
She was also experiencing everything, like, all at once, which is very college. Yes. But, like, it was happening. So smoking, drinking, everything, relationships, it was all happening, like, rapid fire.
Yeah. And then it was like, deal with it alone, right? I wanted to talk about some quotes from the horror queers over at Bloody Disgusting, which we had on our show a few weeks ago, called Debating Mixed Metaphors and Lesbian Telekinesis Film Thelma, is written, put together by Joe, who's our friend over there. And he said, specifically Joe did, that this makes it really upsetting when it is revealed by Thelma's father, Trond, that Thelma is inadvertently using her power to control Anya. It's a great twist that serves to set up the slightly draggy third act and upend the narrative. It also kind of destroys my emotional investment in the character. The implication is that there's nothing genuine in Anya's interactions with Thelma throughout the film, and most problematically, that she does not consent to their sexual relationship. It is entirely a byproduct of Thelma's control, which, if you pause to think about it, is some straight-up villain behavior. Yeah. Which is super true. And I would say, I mean, I never really felt like Thelma was gonna be a hero. Yeah. Yeah.
She very much, I don't even know if victim is the right word, but she was really, like, she seemed as if, like, you got it set up at the very beginning that there was a reason to be scared of her. Yeah. When you had the father pointing the gun at her, which is something, like, even if your kid is not okay, that's not something you should do. Yeah. But it sets up this idea that there's something to look out for that's dangerous about her. And you definitely get that, like, vibe kind of throughout as, like, her meltdowns are very stressful. And, like, they're like, she doesn't handle what's happening to her very well. And you kind of get the idea that there's this impending bad thing that's going to happen if she doesn't check it. Like, see what's going on. Like, explore who she is and what she wants and all of that. Yeah. Very Carrie-esque in the fact that, like, there's this big explosive, like, thing that they're building to.
Yeah. Oh, and also kind of like, it's okay to not be okay.
Yes.
Like, it was definitely like, you knew something was going to give, and that it was going to be dangerous because this person is troubled and has power, and power is dangerous in the wrong hands, right?
Especially in, like, young adolescent, like, hands that, like, don't have, no one has given them the context to deal with it. Yeah. But also, like, it's something that's emotion motivated, and that's, like, a time that's very emotional. Yeah. So it's, like, dangerous in general for themselves and others.
Yeah, I think, like I definitely didn't ever really think that Thelma was the protagonist per se. I think we were just watching her story. But I think just being presented with this, someone who has previously been suppressed, having psychokinetic powers, immediately makes you think, like, evil time.
Yeah.
Or not evil time, but like
something bad's going to happen.
Inadvertently evil time, right? And it also makes me think of from My Hero Academia, one of my favorite characters, because people always look at me when I said I would like this quirk, which is Hitoshi Shinso, who has the brainwashing. Like he maneuvers like you think kind of thing.
Yeah.
And he wants to be a hero, but everyone's like, that's an evil quirk. That's a villain quirk. Yeah. So you have to, like, how dare you try to be a hero? And I was like, he can be a hero.
Yeah, he wants to be.
And he wants so hard to be a hero. And because I said that, I was like, if I had a quirk, I would want to manipulate people's emotions, but in a beneficial way where it's like you can tone down, like, people are gonna fight or something.
Yeah.
Not like make you love me. Yeah. You know, like not that.
Yeah.
But I
de-escalation.
Yes, exactly.
Every police force in the world needs that. Calm the situation down.
Well, I mean, they need other things.
They need a lot of things.
They need to not need that.
They shouldn't be the ones showing up.
Yeah. But that's what it makes me think of, is like, they hear that, they think villain quirk. So when I read, like, when I was reading about her and you read the description, I was like, villain quirk. Yeah. I was like, she's bad.
Yeah. So this isn't going to end well.
Yeah. And I think, like, everyone's kind of reacting that way too, and it is just like really sad. So there's this really big kind of emotional time, I would say, because like you said, it is pretty like minimal with its like suspense and thrill. Like it's kind of just like moments, you're more just like intrigued the whole time. You're never kind of fully stressed, I would say, until the one scene, which is where she is trying to see if she has epilepsy. So they're doing the epilepsy machine. They're like, we're going to stress you out. We're going to flash lights in your face. Yeah. I'm going to try to cause an epileptic seizure so we can watch your brain to see how it does. Yeah. So we're going to see your brain, see how it reacts, and understand if this actually is epilepsy or if it's something else. And the reason why it's psychokinetic is that it's not a physical reaction, actually. So it's something going on in her head, right? So they're inducing that, and so they make her think, they're like, is there a boy you like? And of course, she's thinking of Anya. And then it's like starting to trigger. And at the same time, we flash over to Anya, and she's just doing her laundry, turns off her music, goes to do it. She comes back, her music is blaring. It's just like, it is like the arc of the climax. And then the it's such a phenomenal scene where the glass cracks and bursts through, and then she's out of existence. Yeah. And it happens like I felt like it was pretty soon in the film. Yeah. Like it's like halfway through. Yeah. And we hadn't really like interacted with Anya and her for a while. And so it was like,
you just had like this build up.
Yeah. All of a sudden it just happened.
Yeah, like her, like, trying, like, through psycho and out whatever powers, is able to, like, basically make her initiate physical relationship with her. She gets overwhelmed by that, very stressed, and, like, leaves and shuts it down. Yeah. And then is still wishing for that to happen, but now there's this, like, awkwardness between them.
Yeah, so it's like, we're still trying to figure out their relationship and what's going to happen. And then Anya's just zapped. And you don't, like, the whole time I was like, all right, when does she come back? Like, I really was just like, I don't understand.
Like, if she's gone, I'm upset.
Yeah, I don't know where she went, or why she went, or what's going on. And she, like, Thelma, in true villain fashion, is just, like, ignoring everyone. Everyone's like, you hung out with Anya the most. Where is she? Do you know? Are you concerned literally at all? I'm her mom. I met you. Like, you know, like, there's this whole thing. And she's just like, shut out. I did it, but I'm not going to acknowledge it. And at the same time, we are getting this. She had flashbacks to her childhood where she was annoyed by this child and zapped them and then zapped him back. Yeah. And then later the parents are like, you zapped him again. And you zapped him back, but bad. And like you said, it's super rude that she can zap people when she's asleep.
Yeah, because it's like she doesn't. That's just like, you know, your dream state is different. Like, that's, your brain can do things that you wouldn't want in real life. Yeah. Like, it's just playing out scenarios in that end. And that's not fair. Like, she's a kid. Like, she's having a dream. She's just following the track of the dream. It's not something you actually want to happen. She didn't want to kill her brother. Like, It's rude that's in her dreams.
Yeah.
Because she can't control that. You can't stop the train.
Yeah.
In your subconscious mind.
Yeah. And it's also like the subconscious, like it kind of felt like they were saying like subconsciously she's evil.
Yeah.
That like she always wants this inside, which is not fair.
Yeah.
Because like as a young person, like when you have a younger sibling, like you can't stand them. You don't want them to get attention. You want the attention.
Yeah.
They're loud.
And then you couple that with like supernatural powers that you haven't explained your child has and like how to control and work through them. Like they're just scared of her.
Yeah.
They don't explain to her that if she has these thoughts, something bad can happen.
Yes. Yeah. I agree.
They just leave it unexplained. So it's rude.
Yes. It is super rude. There's also, I think, I felt similar to Trace from Horror Queers in the same article, kind of talking about how, like, although we have this in our queer horror section, I feel like it really, the only part of it that is queer is that she just so happened to have fallen in love with a girl, which is a part of her anxiety because she doesn't quite understand that. It is an added level of like...
Because of the religious
the religious... That was hers. Like, and we find out the religion was her crutch. Yeah. Like, she needed it for, like, to
and the family wasn't, like, overtly... They just used it as a means.
And they also were using it as a crutch, too, to, like... Because the mom, like, says things, too. Like, I mean, at some point you have to rationalize and you need something to continue on after your kid has been zapped and murdered.
And that it's a test from God, basically.
Yeah, by your daughter. Like, how do you cope with that? And so, yeah, it's like... But I feel like that... It's advertised to be this, like... queer film, but it really isn't. It just it's kind of circumstantial.
There's nothing so overtly queer about it.
Yeah, and so Trace said, "I find it odd that a film with such a focus on its queer protagonist moves that queer aspect to the background for most of the third act. Abrupt changes in narratives can work. See Martyrs or the recent Good Manners for good examples of this, which we'll cover." Good Manners. Yeah. But Thelma should be about Thelma's journey to self-acceptance. Instead, we get 2 acts of build-up and then a whole act of infanticide family drama. Don't get me wrong, there is a place for that, but here it doesn't quite work. Thelma tries to be too many things at once, and it lessens the impact of both narratives. Yeah. And I agree, when we kind of have that in there, it stopped being a queer film. It stopped being, because we totally forgot. Like, Anya's missing. We don't care anymore. Like the whole third act, she's not there. It's all about like, oh, Thelma's evil and is becoming
she's definitely
increasingly evil. Yeah, she's like scary and is like losing it. But it doesn't even matter that Anya's missing. It doesn't matter that she had this whole relationship with Anya and that she was figuring herself out. Like that doesn't matter. She's evil. That's it.
And I think I read an article on Screen Crush, and I'm not going to quote it exactly because how I'm interpreting it, I think, is a little different than the quote was intended. But that basically, like, it's a self-discovery film more than it is a queer film. It's like her figuring out who she is. Yeah. And it's very, like, kind of selfish in its portrayal of that. It's just like, this is her. Yeah. Everyone else is an accessory of her. Yeah. She's just figuring out who she is, and everyone else is a casualty of that. Yeah. So you kind of have this thing that's set up as a expose of the queer experience, and that's not so much what you get. You kind of just get this girl who's like going through it. Yeah. And everyone else is kind of just like puppets. Yeah. In that world. Yeah. Which like sucks because like it would be dope. Yeah. If it was just a queer old time. Yeah. But instead, you know, you kind of get this like kind of cringy, forced queer relationship that's not based in consent. Yeah. Which kind of reaffirms a lot of like people's ignorant fears. Yeah. That like they're stealing. Like predatory. Yeah, like the predatory queer person who's going to like turn your kid gay. Like that's not how it works. Yeah. That's not how it works, and that kind of like reaffirms that fear, which I don't really like. Condone. Yeah. Yeah, that's not cool. It's not beneficial for anyone. I agree. I think like there's also like this I feel like similar to what was said, there's a lot of threads here. There's a lot of things that they're trying to do at once, and that's why it's kind of like not full. It's just too many things that are left to be like, what do we do? Yeah, it's trying to say a lot. Yeah, and it doesn't just pick one. Yes, like kind of like the end of Spiral, where it's just like all of it, you know. Yeah. And it kind of diminishes the rest of what we just saw. But like even there's like the whole part where she's like
investigating like psychokinetic, right? And also investigating like her grandmother who is in a psychiatric institution. And she comes across this whole like research of like witches or like women who, you know,
who were said to be witches
because they had the psychokinetic power or because they were too smart. You know, like that whole thing of like, which is a parallel to the idea of like you are going to get educated woman, like this is bad because now you're going to know too much.
That sexuality is a spectrum.
Yeah, you're going to know too much. And that's danger zone for us. It just so happens that it actually is danger for her to know that stuff, like, and to not be repressed. So I feel like the ending, like the moral of the story was that she shouldn't have learned this.
Yeah, she shouldn't have left home.
It was right. Like they were right to think she was gonna be evil. Like they were like, it is inevitable that this was gonna happen. Like that's how the parents took it. And if anything, it's like,
and then it's their responsibility because they let it happen.
Yeah, it's their fault because they let her out, and that it didn't actually help her at all. Yeah, it never at the end of this does not at all say like you should figure yourself out and empower yourself and you'll learn. And sometimes it gets sloppy along the way. Like with Raw, it was like it was really sloppy, and if people communicated, she would do it. But eventually, she was figuring herself out, and that was a part of it. And like
there was no victory piece really, because the victory piece was her manipulating this girl into loving her
at the end,
and then murdering the one parent.
Yeah, she murdered her dad. She healed her mom, which was also like super rude and like powery because like the fact that she was like, you were in this chair because you tried to kill yourself because I killed your son. So I'm going to heal you, and now you're indebted to me. Like, now you can't resent me because I fixed you. Like, that's super evil. Yeah. She's so evil. And then at the end, she envisions, Anya comes up and kisses her, and then she comes up and kisses her. And I was like, she's evil. Like, I get it. But I hate that because it's like, again, like you said, it's that predatory, like... Yeah. You don't make her queer then. Don't use her as a weapon then.
Yeah, it just kind of sucks. It's like they didn't even make the parents the enemy. Like it would. Yeah. It would have been more. We would have been able to empathize with her more if the parents sucked more. You know what I mean? Yeah. But they were too relatable. Like you were too much like, oh, like there are moments where the dad is a good dad despite the fact he's trying to kill her. Yeah. Like you know what I mean? Like. They're coping with it how they can, and it's like they're not coping with it the right way.
But what are you gonna do? They didn't
exactly deserve, like, you know what I mean? Like, it was definitely like I felt bad for them too, and that was not the proper thing for me to sympathize. With her because they really were trying to protect the world from this situation. They were doing it the wrong way. Yeah, they should have educated her and like helped her process and learn how to use her powers. But then you have this, like, inclination, as you said, towards evil, and that, like, if she can do all that, that's scary. Yeah, and now she could have just envisioned, like, happy family at home, everyone's great. Mom calls me to check on me. Because she loves me, or because...
Yeah, she's out here. And now she's, like, untethered.
Too. Yeah, so she can manipulate people as she wants. Yeah. Who cares if Anya even had a life before her? Yeah. And that sucks. I am all for... girl love on screen. Yeah. But it should be consensual. Yes. I feel like that's 100%. A reasonable expectation. Yes. Because it seemed genuine in the moments. It was cute. Yeah. I was like, nice.
It definitely, and that's what it feels like you're being robbed, like the horror queer said, right? It's like this, you are led to believe that that's what it's going to be. It's going to be self-discovery of someone figuring out their sexuality, and you find this like genuine, beautiful moments, and they seem so sweet. And then you look back and you're like, ooh. Yeah. Aww.
Yeah. It like just steals the enjoyableness of their relationship and really makes it seem predatory and kind of uncomfortable. Yeah. Because it's like, rape is still rape, man. Yeah. Like
it's still not.
I don't want them to touch now because I know it's not. Because she really loves her. And I guess maybe it's like they do that as like a question. Like now the audience has to question whether or not the love is genuine or not. But I think they set it up to be. I think
it's pretty sure.
That it wasn't. Yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah. It kind of reminds me of Jennifer's Body when her and Needy have that kiss. Yeah. That also felt like predatory. Like, I mean, in the fact that like Jennifer was a demon. Yeah. Right, succubus. But, that it didn't feel like that's what, I really didn't feel like Jennifer and Needy would have ever done that.
Yeah.
If things were normal. And so it's like, we don't really ever get to know if she really would be that. And what would have happened if she just had seen like a beautiful man?
Yeah.
Because we don't even know if she's actually like queer.
Yeah, we don't know
like
what her,
or that, like that she's lesbian. She could be bi. Like we have no understanding of that. She doesn't know that either. But with this power and the fact that she can manipulate so easily Anya, who is also still now indebted to her
for bringing her back to life, essentially.
Yeah, and like that's an abusive
relationship. Did they
relationship.
just not talk about that? Like the fact she just full disappeared.
And she had to remember, I was here and then I was gone and now I'm back.
Yeah.
I saw you in the pool dimension.
Yeah.
What are we doing here? Like, it didn't. If anything, Anya's probably terrified.
Yeah.
Because now she is, like, controlled by this. Like, she probably had a moment where she realized that, and now she has no control over it. Mm-hmm. It's so scary. And she'll never know now, because she can just settle with controlling this person instead of...
And, like, what if she gets bored of her, and then just, like, took 5 years of her life for what?
Yeah. Zip-zapped her away. That sucks.
Yeah.
I mean...
It was a fun film. It was just like,
it was.
Oof.
And I enjoy it, like... Because I like villains. I like villain stories. I just wish it was less, like, on the coattails of queer. You know? Like, I wish it was less that. And I thought it was unique, for sure.
It was definitely unique. Yeah.
And there was times where, you know, like, with the zapping and stuff, where I was like, when... Zap him back. I was like, zap grandpa back.
Like bring everyone back.
Fix your grandma. I don't know. Do something.
Make the son not dead now. Like,
yeah, like look at you could do anything.
You could do that apparently.
Why are you not? You know? That scene though with the son. Oof.
Yeah, that was emotional.
I would say just watch it to be emotionally destroyed by that scene.
Yeah.
It's worth it. This is definitely horror.
It was big empathy and big horror building. I think it did a really good job there. And I think it's cool to see so many films, like, offering some variety of the queer experience, like, normalizing it for people who don't consider it normal. I think that's dope. Because then it makes a lot of people feel like myself, who realized I wasn't fully straight watching Inuyasha. Because there was a bath scene with Kagome, and I was like, I don't understand. We're turning it off. We're turning it off now. I don't know what to
pretend it doesn't exist.
It's not real. But yeah, like, you know, if you get more representation, you don't feel like as much of a freak when you're growing up. You're like, I don't understand what's happening. Is this why I'm so awkward around everyone?
Every single
Because I just like everyone and I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just feel like it helps normalize representation. You see representations of like who you are on screen. That's really helpful. Yeah. So that's cool.
Yeah.
But also, make it consensual. Make it just like a great, as I said, a queer old time.
Yeah. She could have been a superhero.
Yes.
Very easily.
I mean, I guess it wouldn't have been a horror film. Well, the parents could have been the villains, and then that was a horror film.
Yeah. I mean, horrific things could have happened, and then she could have, like, you know, change it up. Or, like, I mean, yeah. I honestly don't even mind that much that she's a villain. It's just that she's a queer villain. Yeah. That's tired to me. But also, like, as, like, someone who grew up religious and was also suppressed and also queer, it was like, this could have been, like, I could have felt something with Thelma. And there was parts when I did. There was parts when I genuinely had a connection to her, and I was like, I get that.
Yeah.
Ooh. I've had those conversations. I've had that feeling. I've had that fear. Like, you know, where
she was really relatable in the onset, and they steal it away.
Yeah, yeah. And I was just like, ooh, I'm being seen. And then, you know, it does kind of, we just kind of lose it at the end by, like Trey said, like, by making it more about her being a monster to everybody and it being like eventual, like it was gonna happen. Yeah. Like inevitable. The fact that they made it inevitable and that she was just gonna be a villain to everyone. That's the problem I have with it. Yeah, because you're feeling seen in a character, and then they're making that character monstrous. Yeah. And that just is like, oh. And never am I now anything. Monstrous? Yeah. Like it's definitely, as he said, it's robbing you of that like kind of camaraderie or empathy that you have for this character. Yeah, for sure. I still did enjoy it. Despite all those complicated emotions, which is because, like, I mean, you kind of have to do that, right? Especially with horror and with like us people having complicated identities.
Yeah.
You sometimes have to just put things on the back burner.
Yeah.
And be like, I'll unpack that later on my show.
Yeah.
But for now, I'm gonna enjoy this.
What was life before we had a show?
Yeah, like what we just.
I guess the internet
didn't
know about the thing I confessed live about Inuyasha, because I never said that to nobody except for maybe Isaiah. So here we are.
That's fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can't pinpoint.
Here first.
I cannot pinpoint because it was kind of just always. It was always just like, people are pretty. Yeah. It was just always like, I know I'm not supposed to think that, but I do. I'm just not going to tell anybody.
I was very, I was definitely the kind of like weird obsessive friend who was like, we're best friends. We're best friends. Right? Right? Like, I'm not going to murder you. I just, like, need to know.
But I will murder people who get close to you.
Confirmed? Like, what are we?
Yeah.
I'm 5?
Yeah.
Like, I love everyone. It makes a lot of sense in hindsight.
What is it? I forget what the code is for it, where it just, like, established a relationship.
Oh, yeah. ETR, no?
No, because it's not established. It's something else.
It's an E word, though, right?
Yeah.
Define.
Oh, DTR. Define the relationship. Yeah. You're like that 5. You're like, we need a DTR.
Are we best friends or just regular friends? I need to gauge how invested I'll be in this situation.
Yeah. If I zapped you, would you forgive me?
Are we ride or die? Like,
yeah.
Wow. How unhealthy is our dynamic?
We're being attacked by the outside world. Anyway, that was Thelma. That's some of the words we have to say. This is kind of a shorter episode. But, I mean, like, there really wasn't that much more to unpack. Because it really was, like, a lot of the time was spent just on, like, aesthetics.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of just filler of, like, look how pretty this is. Or, like, sex scenes in your head.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, I mean, I don't hate it.
Yeah, it was a great film.
Seeing it. Yeah. Especially because Anya is gorgeous.
Yeah.
And she's tan too. She's like brown. She's a brown woman.
Yeah. Which I'm happy she wasn't dead at the end. Yeah. Like when she was gone, I was like, are they bringing her back? What is happening?
The whole time I was like, okay, is she back yet? Are you gonna bring her back? I was like, how have you forgotten about her right now? Yeah. Like, you're just going home and you're dealing with this stuff and you're not.
You're just gonna let her be gone? Like, what?
Yeah. It was such a time. I was like, how dare you? I thought you loved her. We loved her. Yeah. All of us loved her. She definitely stole the show, honestly.
Yeah.
What a great actress.
Like, can she act? Yes.
Yeah. Answer is yes.
She's just beautiful, too.
Put her in more stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. So beautiful. She kind of looks like, who did I say? My other wife.
I forget.
Rosario Dawson.
Ah.
She looks a little bit like Rosario Dawson.
Okay.
Like in that, like they have like
face shape kind of.
Yeah, like similar, like the size of her features.
Yeah.
Are similar.
I see that.
And that it's like kind of peculiar. Yeah. Like really.
She's beautiful. Like uniquely beautiful.
Yeah. It's like for sure. Like Rosario, my wife.
Yeah.
She doesn't know it, but
she's okay.
I guess
we're not going to manipulate her into loving you for real. We'll just hopefully be... No, because that's villainous.
Rosario. Are you listening?
Call us if you're listening.
Rosario. Okay. Yeah. Anyway.
Okay, the whole point of this film is that we said that's bad.
They told me that I was Thelma. They put the experience out there, so it's inevitable that I am also evil.
No, it's not.
And that I'm going to force Rosario Dawson to fall in love with me.
That's not what's going to happen.
I would, but with my charm.
Yeah, I feel like it would be genuine. I feel like she would
just like me. Yeah, we could be friends.
Yeah.
Lovers. And friends, just friends. I'm kidding, just friends. Just friends. Like, Gabe, why are you always so horny on this show? And it's so true to life, because when we did our like crushes in the one I love, yours are all cartoons. Yep. And you did your Inuyasha, and then mine were like people. And then I'm like, Rosario, like making people real uncomfortable, and you're like fictional.
Mine are all fictional characters.
Yeah, it's real. All right, well,
that's cool. I like real people too. I'm just saying, like, I lived on the internet. Like, I literally just watched TV and play video games. That was my entire childhood because I was a weird kid and didn't have a lot of friends. Yeah. So that's where my crushes lie. Real kids were mean.
We're opening up. That's your gift for December, is that we're opening up during the queer horror series for you to see who we are. But with that being said,
don't get married.
Delete your kids. Yeah. Or
teleport
your
them.
kid will teleport your other
It'll
kid.
be really sad.
That was so sad. It's real messed up.
I was just like, oh God, is this the whole thing?
Yeah, it's like Hakeem Jire.
Bring him back. Bring the baby back.
Are you okay? All right. Well, bye.
Bye.